Welcome to Uptown Voices. From Harlem to the Heights to the northern tip of Inwood, we're here to celebrate our people and together seek solutions for the difficult issues we're all confronting as neighbors. Regardless of what hood you represent, we share the same goal, creating the best community we can, somewhere to enjoy, where we can build our lives and raise our children. We want to thank 181 Cabrini, located on the corner of 181st Street and Cabrini Boulevard, for its generous support for this podcast. It's your neighborhood bistro just steps away from the North Walk of the GWB. Stay tuned for a discount code that you can mention to your bartender or server the next time you visit the restaurant. We also need financial contributions from listeners like you to produce, improve, and expand our content. To contribute, please scan the QR code.
What up, everybody? It's Led Black. Welcome to another episode of Uptown Voices. Like I said, it's Led Black and my brother Octavio Blanco. And we have a very, very, very special guest. He is the talk of the nation right now, Mr. Objectionable Art himself. It's funny because I've known you for a long time, Felipe, and you've been such a bulwark of Uptown art. Right, and you're part of this dynamic duo. You and your wife Andrea Arroyo, to me, are Uptown art royalty. But I really felt it might have been Andrea instead of you getting this, this heat and this flack, because her work is so strident, and your work sometimes is more subtle. It's there. You're saying things, but it's more subtle. And for those that don't know, you had a piece of artwork. That was at the Presente Latino History of the United States, right? At the at the Smithsonian Museum of American History, right? Do I got that right? And you had a piece of work that's directly behind you, right? And it was listed on the White House website as Objectionable Art. And I think your life has probably changed because of that. Can you tell us a little bit more about the piece and the whole thing, how that happened?
Yes. I created this piece in 1999, which incidentally, I just realized is the year when I got my U.S. citizenship also. Yes, somebody asked me about that when you became a citizen, and I said 1999. I said, oh, that's the year I created this piece. Wow. And it was created basically as a reflection of the immigration situation at that time, and I wanted it for introduction of a body of work I call Manhatitlan, which is combining words of Manhattan and Tenochtitlan, which is the Aztec word for Mexico City. So I wanted to celebrate both cultures, but also acknowledging that a lot of my fellow Mexicans that live in the U.S. maybe have come through the border, or they have other means of coming legally or as undocumented, but they have been present for a long time, and the immigration policies have always been very politicized. And I have been in New York for 42 years, and it's an ongoing discourse. It has been ongoing for centuries, by the way. And so I made this reflection of how the border looked, and I realized these metal planks that were put during the first Bush president and later with Clinton. They were surplus from the Iraq war. And they had these metal things because they were made for tanks and trucks to be in the sand during the first Gulf War. They have this surplus and they send them to put a fence. So I imagine, well, what would happen if one of them was missing a little piece, and these two guys are on the south border looking at the 4th of July fireworks in the U.S., because that always happens, and maybe thinking they would like to be there. They're not crossing, they're just spectators. Right. Yes. And because I have seen that in the border, a lot of people just go and look and they say, oh, I would like to go. They don't want to cross. I mean, they like to live in Mexico, but they said, how will it be to be there? And also I put a shining city in the distance in a kind of a golden look. And that also symbolized for me El Dorado. I remember when the Spaniards...
the mystical city.
This continent, they were always looking for El Dorado, a place full of gold and everything. So that's like a lot of metaphors I was putting on this piece together. Later, I have been exhibiting it in many places, and it has been requested for publications. And finally, the Library of Congress realized the importance of this work, and that's when they asked me if they could have it for their collection. I don't know if the Smithsonian, when they were creating the Latino Museum, they approached the Library of Congress or me directly. I don't know exactly what was the connection, but they said, we would like to have this piece on this exhibition. And I said, oh, by all means, I'll be glad to have it. And also, and they basically, they didn't even have it as an exhibition, as an artwork. It was on display in it's a long display of images and words. And they were mentioning, besides my work, they describe what it is. They put a quote about the founding fathers, that some of them were afraid that there was going to be non-white migration to what was the U.S. back then.
They put that phrase, not you.
Yes, no, not me. I mean, that was the Smithsonian.
Right, that's right. The institution did that, not
Yes,
you.
and it's a historical fact. So basically, the museums are supposed to do that. They put historical facts, and even if we don't like it, it's the truth.
It's the truth.
For this administration, it is scary for them. So, and also the phrase says that, but also said sometimes we are considered like invaders, when in reality we come to work and we embrace the values of this nation. And that's what we want to do as Latinos. This is the background of this piece. On August 22nd, I remember it was a Friday, I got an email around 7 o'clock in the morning from a friend, a professor at Fordham, and also a neighbor from this area. And she said, Felipe, you're in the news, congratulations. And she put a link to the White House. And I said, what is this? So I clicked the link and I'm like, what? My work is beautiful. And I mean, I was really, really surprised. At first I was afraid. I'm not going to deny it. I said, oh my God, the White House is
singling you out, yeah.
Singling me and other artists that were in that exhibition and in other exhibitions at the Smithsonian. And then I became sad because I said, oh my God, they're going to remove it. And I said, well, that's what this administration is doing with so many things. And later I became angry because I said, why are they doing this? This is not, museums are not supposed to be political.
Right.
Slowly I checked the post from the White House. Then I look at the New York Times and I noticed there was an article about this. And I said, oh, maybe that's where my friend got the information. And they mentioned also that this list of objectionable art was also supplied by the Federalist, another online site, very right-wing.
Yeah,
and the guy who wrote that, it used to write on Breitbart or something.
Breitbart, yeah.
Which is very conspiracy theories and stuff.
Right-wing garbage, yep.
What is the seriousness of this? But the White House is always looking for their minions to say something they don't like, and they take it as theirs. By this time, Trump, a few days before, was excoriating the Smithsonian, and he did it before, months before. He began to attack the Smithsonian. So this was basically a pattern that ended up in this. And I was very worried. I said, I have never been to see this exhibition in DC. It has been there 3 years. And so I said, I gotta go and check it out document it before they remove it. So I go down there to Washington a few days later and go to the Smithsonian. I mean, it was like this. I found that there was a Greyhound that left from George Washington Bridge at 5 o'clock in the morning. Said, I gotta go to that one, take that one, go to the Smithsonian, and I asked for the Latino exhibition, and they put it in a map and everything, and then I go, it's closed. I arrive and it's closed.
It's next year, right? It's a next year. It's closed indefinitely.
Yes. And I was like, what is this going on? And it's funny because they had a big screen and they had a video, which incidentally, Lin-Manuel Miranda was saying a lot of good things about this Latino area, but it's closed now. I began to ask questions. Nobody knew anything. I asked a guard, why is this closed? He said, I don't know. Don't ask me. I work in another museum and they sent me here today. I asked other people with Said, who can tell me information about this exhibition? Oh, I don't know. Everybody was, I don't know. I go to the information desk and they said, let's call a supervisor. He's not answering. So at this point, I realized everybody's afraid. Everybody's very
Everyone's
afraid
afraid.
of saying things,
Yeah.
of compromising their jobs.
The Smithsonian had already caved because there was an impeachment exhibit, and they removed Trump's two exhibits, right? But you know, Felipe, this is, you know, one thing I think it's amazing that you're kind of written now into the history of the story in your own little way, right? This will live forever. You know what I mean? But it also is very scary, right?
Yes.
Like it's right. Like this is dictatorship. I keep saying this, like where this is the beginnings of something
very authoritarian. Yes.
Yeah.
And also it's interesting because I have been getting a lot of requests for interviews, and one writer from the Hyperallergic, which is an online art
site, they're great.
She did a great research, and she found out that the exhibition was supposed to be open until November, and that they closed it they say they closed it in July. So I'm not sure if that's true or not. Maybe they closed it after Trump did his declarations later. And then I said, what's going to happen here? They are saying that they're going to put an exhibition about salsa, and that will open in the spring of 2026. Now, the problem is this site that was devoted in the American History Museum at the Smithsonian was like a sampling of the supposedly Latino museum that is going to be built nearby.
Right.
Like the African American Museum, which is across. Amazing museum. I said, I hope they do something like this for the Latinos. So this was very representative of the Latinos' presence in the U.S. for, I mean, even if it was small, it's very comprehensive. No, they wanted to close it because they don't want to show it next year is the 250th anniversary of the nation. So they want something sanitized. So that's what they're doing, an exhibition devoted to salsa, which will open in the spring of next year. And I said, I love salsa and everything, but that music or that part of music doesn't represent the history of the Latinos, the 64 million of Latinos that live in the U.S.
Right.
So it's basically silencing our history. And then I realized all the objectionable art is only from Latino artists and African American artists.
Yep.
So it's very racist, this administration. And I have been doing a lot of research. Trump has never set foot on the Smithsonian museums, and he's exploding against them because his minion tells him stories. He has only been once in 2017 when he was president the first time, and he was invited because the African American Museum received 1 million visitors already, so it was a kind of a celebration back then, and he praised the museum back then.
Right.
It wasn't changed. But now, basically, he's showing his true colors or true color only or non-color.
The orange color, But you know, it's funny. I said this on another episode before, and Octavio, I laughed about it. I coined the phrase "enjoy it before Trump destroys it." Right.
Wow.
And it's happened to you, right? In terms of that thing is destroyed, right? Like, people didn't get the benefit of seeing us in our totality in an important place, right? So, but I also think that the Latino Museum in general might be in jeopardy, right? It hasn't opened yet. It may not open. You know, and I got to get to the African American Museum because, you know, from what I've been told is it's an experience, and I know that's gonna go too. So, how does it feel though, like that in this country at this time this is happening to the artists?
Well. But by now, it surprised me because it I mean, everything has been a surprise since he took power. I mean, and he even said that I'm going to be dictatorship on day one, but because looks like day one is an extended. So, I mean, everything he's doing is shocking to the values and the ethics of this country. I mean, nothing is sacred for him. I mean, I'm sad. When I was walking towards the Smithsonian, I passed through the labor department, and he has a huge banner with his face like this.
Yeah,
And
very
he's saying,
Hitler-like. Yeah.
American workers first. And I said, I was just reading that the almost 300,000 federal workers were fired. And I said, that banner is missing a word. It says firing American workers first. Because and you have those banners only in totalitarian countries,
Right.
where the president is like looking after
Right.
you, or
A
king.
cult of personality. Yeah.
Yes, and he's, I don't know, it's impressive. I always say he said he doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke. I said, no, he's addicted to himself.
He's high on his own supply. That's funny.
No, it's so. I mean, I have been reading, that he wants to have a hand on everything. The Kennedy Center, he fired everybody. Now he's the board, the chairman. So he wants a say in everything. And now the arts, it was our turn. It took longer than I expected, but it's... and also, he goes after humane works, because art that is in a museum is not... it's a reflection. It's a conscience of the nation. So it has to be respected. It's freedom of expression. That's a constitutional right, a human right. So it is very shocking. It's very annoying. It's very sad, and it makes me angry also to see all this happening to this nation. As I said, I have been 42 years. I was expecting always to go forward, but suddenly this is a backlash to the 1950s.
I agree.
Yeah, Felipe.
Yes.
I'm one of the federal workers who was impacted.
Wow.
By this administration. I was pushed out in February. I was doged by the administration. So I sort of understand how this affects individuals. I think a lot of folks who might be watching the podcast or have watched you on television doing interviews don't quite understand just what the feeling is as an individual when you are impacted by the actions of an administration, which is such a sort of like a larger than life idea, the administration, right? It's the government. It makes me think two things. The first question, and if I could, I'm going to follow up afterwards, but the first question is, has this inspired you to create work, have you been to create new work since this has happened?
Just a little. I have been requested to write a script for a book, for a graphic novel. I did a graphic novel recently. It came out this year about Ellis Island, by the way. It's
wow, that's amazing.
Macmillan approached me and said, we want you to write a story about Ellis Island. I said, for young adults, like a graphic novel. And I said, you want me to write it or to illustrate? He said, no, we want you to write it because we're assuming your family didn't come to Ellis Island. I said, yes, you're right. So you're a neutral voice. Okay. So I did this book. They like it a lot. And now they ask me for another. I cannot reveal what is the topic, but I'm working on it in the first stages right now.
Oh, wow, it's amazing.
This put a wrench on my mind. It really took me out of my zone of concentration. So basically, I have been doing a lot of interviews, writing a lot, and I have not been able to do much work related to this. I only did a cartoon recently about the firing, about what I saw in Washington, and I'm working on another one about the Trump and the Smithsonian. How is he trying to destroy it? So, it really, really set me off the rails of my road. So I'm trying to go back. I'm trying to write. Because these books involve a lot of research.
Right.
And now they ask me this book really in half the time that I used before. So now I'm really working. On top of that, a lot of projects and stuff going on. So we're presenting, my wife and me, an exhibition in Europe, in France, in a humor festival in the south of France.
That's amazing.
At the end of the month, yeah. So we're leaving in 2 weeks. And it's funny because I didn't remember that image of the 4th of July was also published in Paris last November. So I already sent them, we have to show this, and I have a statement. So I hope to get back my inspiration to do more
Yeah.
stuff. But yes, I'm going to continue doing more work. I cannot, they cannot silence my voice. So it's,
No, absolutely.
that's like a duty
Love
we
that.
have as artists too.
If I could also just follow up with a question about, uh, forgive me, I think when you're naturalized citizen, right?
Yes,
And you came from Mexico, is that
from
correct?
Mexico. Yes, I was born
Okay.
in a place called Cuernavaca, an hour south of Mexico City. Actually, I came in 1983. Our plan, I came with Andrea. Our plan was to be here 6 months only. I was going to show my portfolio around, and our only connection was a medical student who was studying at Columbia Presbyterian. So we were in Washington Heights back then.
That's amazing.
We were here for almost 3 years, and then we moved to the East Village, and we're back now after 16 years. We have been here in this area.
And so, Mexico is renowned. I'm Mexican also. I was born in Mexico. I was born in Mexico City. And so Mexico is known for its politics and its corruption and things like that. And so now in the United States, you expected that becoming a citizen and living here, that the United States is going to move forward. We all expect
Yes.
that to happen. But now that you've seen this, do you have made you put some doubt into the institutions of American government, or do you still sort of feel that we're salvageable? I guess is the way to say it. That we have institutions with checks and balances. Is that something that crosses your mind, whether or not this is sort of
No, yes.
the Rubicon?
It's in a way it crosses a Rubicon because, like I said, these 42 years I have seen many administrations, and of course some are better than others. Many, I mean, the interventions in other countries and things like that are I mean, it's not something that we will do in Mexico. Mexico, for example, when I left Mexico, Mexico was okay, let's say. They had economic problems, but there was no violence. Now, with the appetite for drugs in the US, that really fed money and weapons in Mexico and became a really, really vicious circle of violence. And so, I blame a lot of what happened in Mexico and Latin America on the drugs,
For
the
sure.
appetite
100%.
for drugs here. So, how can I say? I always saw that this way of life in the US and the politics was always balanced. Like you were saying, there is check and balances. The laws were functioning, and even politicians were really bad and corrupt. There was like a red line that nobody crossed. There was like an honor line.
Hmm.
And this guy came, and we noticed that on the first administration of Trump. At first, it's like he didn't believe he won, and he already had his plan to counterattack in case Hillary Clinton won. But he was surprised. He was inept, and we could see that in his administration. I don't know if the world sent COVID to get rid of Trump, but we got rid of him. But then the Biden administration had a hard package to follow. I mean, and this guy kept repeating the lie and the lie and the lie and the lie until a lot of people, I mean, drank the Kool-Aid and voted for him again to give him I mean, so in a way, there used to be extremes, right? But this time, I think it really broke the wall. It's really, really extreme. Because when Obama was elected, I was really hopeful for a
Right.
better. I mean,
Hmm.
you went around the world. We travel a lot. When the Bush administration and the Iraq and all that happened, everybody was hating Americans. When Obama came to power, it was like a reconciliation with the
Right.
U.S. With Trump, it was like, oh no. And then Biden, okay, again. So a respite in the expectations of the world. But now this is really brutal because he went with everything, breaking laws, coming up with emergencies. It's like living in a coup d'etat almost.
Right. Yeah, it definitely is that.
He doesn't care about the law, the rights, the due process, everything that is supposed to be the norm of civil society. He doesn't care at all.
But speaking to that, does it, because it bothers the hell out of me
Mm.
that it was a lot of Latinos that voted
Yeah.
for this, right? And that's one thing that really hurts, that blows my mind. Like, it's not that I'm willing to excuse white people, right? But I get it, right? If someone's telling you those people are taking your stuff, but when you're those people and you believe that, it's really hurtful, you know. And how do you feel about that? Because it bothers me that there's Puerto Ricans, there's Dominicans, there's Mexicans that support this clown, right?
Yeah.
Against us. So they voted for a war on their own people, which doesn't make sense to me.
Yes, it is very contradictory. And as I said, many people sometimes just see the surface and Fox News and they start believing all these lies. They don't question. And that's the problem sometimes when people don't question things. You just take it for granted. And the media was more critical in his first term. Now they are also afraid. And if they give him, they used to question everything he used to say. Not anymore. So they
Not
take it
anymore.
like face value. And he talks like he's
worse. He's worse than ever, yeah.
And I always said, why can't somebody ask a tough question? It's like, for example, now with the Smithsonian, can somebody ask him, when was the last time you were at the Smithsonian? I mean, basic questions like that, but they're afraid, or I don't know.
No, you're right.
That's so I'm very surprised. Really, I mean, coming from Mexico, I was really expecting. I mean, the whole world used to see the U.S. like an example to follow, and you can see that with recycling, with the green going green, but no, now it's going backwards, and that's the problem. Sometimes I hope other societies don't start following this pattern.
Right. I agree.
It'll be interesting when you go to France. You know, I just came back from France. I was 2 weeks there, and one of the things that I noticed was that also in France, I mean, we've seen this in politics, that France is tilting to the right very much, and so it'll be interesting to see what your experience there is going to be with this at this humor conference, because France also has a strong tradition of freedom of speech. They all horrible experience with the Charlie Hebdo massacres that happened. And so I do wonder, what do you think this humor conference, what is the goal, or what do you expect to learn from the French? And are you concerned, you just mentioned it a little bit about other societies, but are you concerned that Europe is also starting to lean to the right?
I mean, I have been going to France regularly for many years. And the right has also a voice. I mean, and they're very vocal. But now this woman Le Pen was put in jail because of some corruption practices she did. So that in a way diminished the presence of a voice in the right. But also they have problems, economic problems. And yes, sometimes they have issues with immigration. I mean, in Paris, you can see it's like a melting pot also. But when you go to the countryside, you hardly see that. So I don't know exactly what will happen there. I don't see France going to the right. I think it will stay in the center. And also, one thing you were mentioning, the Charlie Hebdo, I knew one of them, one of the cartoonists. I was a friend of him. So it was really shocking for me when that attack happened. And after that, I began to defend them and defend them freedom of expression. And 10 years later, I never realized I would have to be defending my work from the same thing in the U.S.
In the U.S., yeah,
yes,
it's
places.
awful.
Have you got some hate mail? Have you gotten some negative from
No.
this?
You know what? It's interesting because, for example, there was an article on the Washington Post, which has been very criticized because Bezos didn't want to change the editorial line and everything.
Right.
And I was looking at the comments, and they were very supportive. They said, even if I don't agree with that, you have to leave it. Museums are not supposed to be touched. You have to decide for yourself. Museums are to make you think. So I was very surprised, and so far I have not received any backlash. And as I said, from this image, it has been always requested because of the significance. And during the Obama administration and the Biden administration, the State Department commissioned me to do artwork to give to presidents. I gave an artwork for Presidente Mujica of Uruguay.
Wow,
And
that's
then
amazing.
with Biden, they asked me to do something for the King of Spain.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah, if you read the Manhattan Times, they just came out with an article about this.
That's really cool.
Yes, and then I said, okay, two administrations requests are for me to give as a token of gratitude for their friendships. And this administration banishes me, censors me.
You can't make that up. I have to ask you though, what did Andrea say? Because I know Andrea must have been pissed.
She was really, she has been very supportive. I was, like I said, like you were saying, I'm not a person who's on the,
Right.
I don't want to be in the spotlight, but now suddenly they put me there. So she has been very supportive. She has been giving me a lot of advice, and she's very smart in that sense of saying, you have to do this, you have to do a press release, you have to make a statement. And I said, okay, yes, I'll do that. And so now she supports me a lot, and I really am very thankful for that. And that's what I'm following her advice too. She said, you cannot hide about this. You have to face it and say, okay, I'm going to honor it and defend freedom of expression and my fellow artists and the Latino community.
Yeah. Led, I think now it's time to take a short pause so that we can pay some of the bills.
You want to tell them a little about donations and how they could help the show?
Absolutely. We can't do this without contributions from our viewers. You're going to see a QR code which you can scan. You can make a contribution towards Uptown Voices. It's going to be helpful for us to elevate our production. We have dreams and aspirations of doing live shows. We have dreams and aspirations of being on location at our various cultural institutions, and we can't do that without contributions from viewers and listeners like you. And we also can't do that without our sponsors, and we are lucky to have a great sponsor, 181 Cabrini. It's our neighborhood bistro. Both Led and I are just steps away from 181 Cabrini, and we love it. 181 Cabrini is located right there on that corner of 181 and Cabrini, just steps
181 and Cabrini.
Just steps away from the bridge. So yeah, I love it. Led, you and I were there the other night.
Yeah. We also met there for the first time. You and I, the first time we met, we had like lunch there, and it's my local bar now. Like since you and I both live like right around. It's my local bar. I spend a lot of times there. James Lee, the owner, is just an incredible restaurateur. Right? I think he's a great guy. He's super funny, but like the food is on point. Please hit up 181 Cabrini. It is really one of my favorite spots. 181 Cabrini, pull up. That's my spot. Show them love and tip well.
And order the nachos. Those are on point.
The sangria is amazing. Everything in there. You have to try the coconut bread pudding. They got coconut, they got chocolate, and now they got banana, but the coconut, outstanding. So like I said, it's the attention to detail for me. It's a great neighborhood joint. Thank you to James and 181 Cabrini for sponsoring. And, if you want to sponsor, holla at my boy. You know what I mean? Let's make it happen. You know what I mean? But yeah, without further ado, though, let's get to it.
But before we do that, I just want to say one thing. We're going to have a redemption code at the end of this episode, which you can bring to 181 Cabrini for a special treat.
Let's go.
And I love it that you say that. And I remember Manatitlan. I loved that. I loved that book. It was very timely. It was right, when New York City saw the big influx of Mexicans from Puebla. I thought that was wonderful. In this show, we've sort of coined a mantra. Number one is spread love. It's the Uptown way. And number two is community is the answer. Community is the answer. And so I want to hear about the importance of the Uptown community to you. And has it had an impact since you've experienced this really shocking news? Yes, it's one of the first persons who, when Andrea mentioned this to Nidia Gutierrez at NOMA, she was very shocked also, and she said, we have to do something. And she did a beautiful letter of support. And she notified also Luis Miranda, which is also showing me a lot of support. So the support of this community has been great. And also I put this case in my social media, which is I only do Facebook and Instagram, which is more or less the same. But I got a lot of support, and that was really very very good. I mean, for me, it put me at ease a little bit because I'm not gonna deny it. Every morning I wake up with anxiety, and I have not experienced that since COVID, since the COVID time.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to make to calm down, but all this support is really important. We have I was mentioning in 16 we have been here 16 years. Before we lived 15 years in the Upper West Side, which apart from an institution called El Taller Latinoamericano, it was like a desert of cultural places. We knew other artists, but they were musicians, opera singers, something. When we moved to Washington Heights and Uptown, it's like we found a new family. It's amazing. I mean, it's a lot of artists. And so we are really grateful for being in this part of Manhattan, and we feel embraced, and we try to correspond the same way with our work. So, yeah, thank you for all support. I mean, Let always supporting me, reposting my work and all that. So I'm very, very, very grateful for that. And that means a lot. It's really calms me down, let's say, put me at ease a little bit. Because I'm not gonna deny it, sometimes it's very scary. Not for the administration, but for crises that go wild for you.
And also for the sake of the country, right? Like you know, you realize when I was in the Dominican Republic, when I come back, you know, you feel like you're losing something that you love a lot. You know what I mean? And it's sad, and that's one of the things. So it's like I can see that anxiety because that email could be something negative. But has there been any upsides? And besides the community, has there been like you're now more in demand, right? Your work has now more cachet, or does it?
Well, in a way, yes. I mean, I have had responses. People want to buy prints from the work, which now is historical. So, in that sense, I have had that positive response. And Andrea says you have to do something else. I said I don't really want to commercialize this. I just want, I mean, the support it's enough for me. As I said, it's already in many collections as prints, and people have been requesting. I'm very grateful that they are doing that, and they show me support in that sense. So I don't know how my work will be perceived later on, but I mean, I also, this put me at another level of exposure that I said I was not expecting, but well, I have to honor it and do my best to, as I said, defend freedom of expression and stop censoring. And so I'm going to be working on more pieces. They don't come easy, but I'll try to work on them.
You know, Latin American art and Mexican art, my family collects Taller de Gráfica Popular, or has collected, so has a strong history or strong legacy of being political, of being, of making a statement. But the art world is sort of, I think, split between art that's for the sake of art to make you feel something, but not say a message or not be political, versus art that is strident and has a political message. Where do you fall what is your feeling about these two sort of views about what art is supposed to do? And what message do you want to give to other artists about what their voice means in this society, whether it's uptown Manhattan or the United States or globally?
Yes, I'll tell you a little bit of my story. When I went to art school in Mexico, in the National University, it was at a time when the time of the Mexican School of Art was kind of dormant, but also kind of dying, because all the main figures already were dying. Like Frida Kahlo passed away, then Diego Rivera, and then the other muralists. So there were, and the people who were doing that kind of art were just not doing something new. And this moment, a lot of artists from Europe came to Mexico, and they started, and Americans also, and they started promoting the American abstract school of art. And this is what we have to do now, not anymore murals or whatever. And I followed that path a little bit. So I was doing abstract art, and I like it and everything. But but I always wanted to do cartooning. So after I finished university, I began to do more devoted to cartooning than my art. I started leaving it aside. And I began to work with political cartoonists and publications. So I was doing a lot of political work in Mexico. But at the same time, it was not enough for me. So I wanted to do other stuff. And that's where I came to the US to try to sell my ideas. It was more humor for humor, let's say. I had a lot of those ideas. But once I began to work here, I was doing that, but also I began to get calls to do political art. So I began to do political illustration. And so I said, no, I have to do that, because also there were so many things to criticize here in the US and globally also. So I decided to do both things. And then I have other projects like Manhattan. I come up with projects on my head, and I try to do exhibitions. And so now I have to do that kind of balance. But and I always, when I do a work, I try to I think how this work will read in 20 years or in 30 years, or it's only, I don't like to do momentary things. I like to do stuff that can transcend the time barriers and international barriers, that can be understood in China or in France or in the US or in Mexico. So I put that goal in my head, and it's a little tough, but sometimes I accomplish sometimes things. So that's the way I think, and that's what I hope to continue doing with my work. Going to do just humorous work about everyday life situation, but also about politics and stuff that is really, we have to empathize with that. For example, I have done a lot of drawings about the dreamers,
right,
supporting them, and so I have done animations also about Manhattan. I have one called Manhattan Codex, in which I reimagine why did they want to migrate to the US. So I have a lot of preoccupations in my mind, but as I said, I try to make people think and laugh if possible. So that's what has been my goal and to be informed all the time. We need to be informed and dig deep about every situation. A cartoon is at the end a compilation of a lot of sources in one image. So like the expression says, like the phrase says, that sometimes one image is worth 1,000 words. That's what we aim to do, or that's what I aim to do.
That's great. And laughter is such a good way of informing because it diffuses a lot of times. Laughter opens the door for information. We see it in stand-up comedy. It's a really great way to sort of calm it down so that you can deliver a message that's important. So I love that. I think that's important. Yeah. Go ahead, Led.
And, when you talk about your work resonating, it's interesting with that particular piece in question, right? How, to me, it reminds me, there's a song by Juan Liguerra, the great Dominican, musician, called Visa para un Sueño, right? Right. And and the whole song is how, you're going to try to get your papers, and he describes the process, right? Like, going to whatever the embassy is in DR and trying to get your papers to come here, right? Because everything is going to be good when you come here, right? And I think that's what your piece is talking about, right? It's like this kind of, that means it's not just Mexicans, right? It's everyone. The whole world has wanted to feel that American dream, right? But that was what, 20 years ago, right? Where are we now? Like, I don't want you to tell me the painting you're gonna draw, but what is the sentiment now for everyone now?
Like I was saying before, I just wish the migration policies were more humane and more practical in a way. Because, for example, a lot of people want to come work and then go back to their country. Maybe they would like to do that 6 months and then go back 6 months. I mean, if they were allowed to do that, no
Yeah.
problem. I mean, it's so easy to give this kind of visas. It's like temporary visas. They
Mhm.
have them, but they're very limited. As I said, I was even surprised when Reagan gave an amnesty to almost 3 million people in 1987, I believe, or
Right.
86.
Yeah.
And Bush was going to do the same, but then 9/11 happened. And that
Yes.
really put a cut in the. Then, and since then, nothing has worked. And what Trump is doing is basically very hateful against immigrants. I mean, treating them as criminals when he knows, I mean, he knows this country needs immigrants. This is a huge country, very rich country. He's always crying like, oh, we're dead. It's like saying, oh, I'm poor, we are poor. No, this is really a rich country. And it's rich because of the immigrants that come here and work and do.
Right.
It's
The country doesn't. Yeah, the country doesn't move without immigrants. It's
no,
just
it's
insane.
and so we just need humane policies, not drastic. It's too draconian and very authoritarian, and as I said, instilling fear. And I'm glad that a lot of judges are now putting a stop on his policies because he declares them like emergency. Like one judge was saying, "Come on, nobody's even groups of immigrants. They are not invading the country. They don't have weapons. They are not, that's not their goal. I mean, come on, give me a break. I mean, this happened yesterday, I think.
Right. Yeah, I saw that.
So I just hope the same way this president was not processed, unfortunately, and go to jail because of the laws, because he has good lawyers working for him. I think the laws might stop him also the same way because they take time, but unfortunately, but they can work. I still have faith that the country will prevail and that this is just a temporary sanity. Or I mean, I'm seeing the light at the end of this obscure tunnel that is this administration, these years. We still have the upcoming elections for Congress and Senate.
As of right now, that might
Yes.
change.
So I'm hoping that people will wake up and vote and vote them out of this way of governing, which is it's not rational. It's very very fearful and autocratic and inhumane.
Yeah, and unfortunately,
No, go
we
ahead.
do need some better laws in terms of the immigration that are, like you say, that are more humane and that are more rational. I think one of the things that people don't realize, and you just mentioned it, is that most of the time folks want to come here, work, and then go back. And it used to be easy to do. Before the border was so militarized, there was a flow of people. They would come and work during the season of harvesting, and then they'd go back home and when the season of harvesting was over. But ever since the border got militarized and got reinforced, it became too hard to do that. So instead of going back home, they decide we're going to stay here. And so that's the situation that we're in now.
And also, what I was going to mention, sometimes, and this administration is doing that just looking at the borders, but I mean, millions of immigrants come and by plane and stay here. They just don't overextend the visas and they just stay here and they never look at that. But like I said, it's and a lot of them manage to make a living and construct better lives, have kids, and then it's some generations, I call them the generation that sacrifice for the next one because they are in a tough spot, but their kids are already here and they're gonna be citizens and they're gonna follow a different path. So I don't know. It's I still have hope that the humanity will prevail, and I mean the reason will prevail here.
I hope so, Felipe, but I don't know. I don't know if I believe that anymore. I also think that the world is a different place, right? Before, if America fell, the world will fall with it. I think the world is moving on. You guys have a great president in Mexico. She's amazing, right? She's she puts Trump in his place all the time. But I was reading I think in Rolling Stone, Paulo Ramos wrote a piece about this reverse migration now is happening. People are going back to their countries, right? People are saying, you know what, I don't want to go through that indignity, and I think there's some power in that. I think that we can rebuild our countries.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on that? On this, like, because I don't know. Like, I'm planning something in Dominican Republic, man. Like, I think I don't trust Trump. I don't think the elections will, if they happen, they won't be fair. I think he's doing things already. I think we've already passed. We crossed the Rubicon. I think, and they burned. There's no way of getting back. But that's my feeling. What are your thoughts on that reverse migration?
Well, yes, many migrants who come here and they experience something different. I hope they try to use that in our own countries, and that has happened before, because I remember many migrants that used to go back. They will build up stores or help their communities in a different way. So now it's a little forced, but also the conditions, for example, at least in Mexico, the minimum salary has gone up, and there is support from the government. I mean, it has helped a lot of the poor people that they don't need to migrate. And that's what I remember Obrador was saying: you don't need to migrate, stay here, work hard. And even they were absorbing many of the people who wanted to come to the US and couldn't make it. They were giving them jobs and helping them out. So I hope that is the case. I have not read much. I think there is an article recently, like the one you were saying, how this is impacting their communities. I do hope that. I mean, I don't know how many the numbers of people who have left voluntarily, but I hope if they do, they make a difference. Try to. I mean, at least I think they will still have contacts with people in the US and help each other in that sense. So
that's the new American dream, to live in your home country and make American dollars. I think that's what a lot of people are feeling right now.
Well, actually, it's the new American dream also for Americans. There's a big problem in Mexico with Americans that are moving to Mexico because
they're gentrifying
Mexico, but they're still earning American dollars. So it's driving up the rent, it's driving up the prices. It's a whole convoluted situation. And it is fascinating only because it really demonstrates how connected and how easy it is in this world to move between countries, and to with not just because of the jet power airplane, but also because now we have like technology like the one that we're utilizing, where we can be in our homes, you can be in your home, and we can have a conversation, or we could be doing work, and we could be sharing things from across the globe. But the only thing that really can...
Digital nomads.
Nomads, exactly.
Yeah, I know people in Europe that they're working for the US, and they have these visas to be like residents, because they are not taking jobs from people in those countries like Portugal, Spain, or France, or all over Europe. They have that kind of visa, and they earn in dollars and they spend it in those countries. So in a way, it's beneficial for both sides, and you live a different way of life. Maybe it's less stressful than being the victim, but not everybody has that chance. So, but as I said, I hope those who are going back, they have some opportunity to still be participants with the US in a way.
And Felipe, we spent a lot of time kind of talking, about this, but tell us what you have on the horizon. What's coming out now? What can we expect? Where can people find your work?
Yes, well, as I said, I have to write this book. I have a deadline until the end of the year. We're going to this exhibition in France, as I said, and then we're going to have one here at the Mexican consulate. They have a gallery, and they invited me and Andrea to have one in November. I will probably have Manhattan. I will show Manhattan again. It's a good way and a good moment to revisit it because of the immigration situation. Also, more in the future, well, continue doing my work and continue doing more critical work now. I have more like another, how do you say, another duty to do this, to continue doing this.
How many cartoons do you have as a New Yorker cartoon? You have a lot. It's too many to
The New
count.
Yorker, I don't know. I don't keep count. I have thousands of cartoons. I mean, and illustrations. So it's. I invite you to visit my website. It's the www.feggo.com, or you can just put feggo.com and it will take you there. My Instagram is at Fegorama with double G. By the way, my pen name comes from my three names, Felipe Galindo Gomez. So I made a
Feggo,
compressed
I like
version.
that. Was that your nickname though? Is that what they called you growing up?
No,
Feggo?
I made that up when I began to do cartoons in Mexico. My first cartoons were published in 1978. That's a tradition in Latin America to have a pen name because we have regular names. I have the same
Right.
name as my dad, so it's easier to do a pen name. So that's where you can see my work, and also there another a film student did a small documentary about my work.
Oh, it's
I'm
amazing.
gonna put it on my website. I still have not put it there, so you can see.
We would love to see that. We would definitely
Yep.
share it, man. I'm
Yeah,
looking
yeah.
forward to that. It's funny you say about a pen name, right? Because that's the reason my name is Led, right? Because my given name is Leo,
Leo,
right?
oh,
Leo, but on my block, Leo rhymes with Pale, right? So they started calling me Leo Pale, right? And I was
oh,
like, I'm not gonna be Leo Pale my whole life. So I became Led since the third grade. So I understand the pen name. So that's hilarious.
I like your name. It reminds me of Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, yeah.
This is something that most people don't know unless you're in my family, but my father's Mexican, my mother's American, and my name is Octavio Andres. And they were afraid that I was going to be, that I was going to be picked on with a Spanish-sounding name, so they Americanized Andres to Andrew. So for most of my youth, I went by Andrew, but when I went to college, I reclaimed my Octavio. And
I like
so
Octavio better,
I like
yeah.
it better too, I think. But it's interesting because there is that fear that because of my Spanish name that I'd be, either picked on by the students or that the teachers wouldn't treat me fairly, So there was a real fear. Felipe, do you have any last words that you want to leave with our viewers who are interested in knowing about this incident and how it's affecting you, and how should people respond? Is there a message that you want to send to the audience?
Yes, well, that sometimes life throws you a ball and you have to catch it and make a good game out of it, because otherwise it's, and especially in these times, it's a challenge that was thrown to me. Uh, so I have to take it and as I said, defend freedom of expression and not let our voices be silenced, because I think art is powerful and we have to do it. And to artists out there, I suggest the same. I mean, always fight for your art and for freedom of expression. And to the general population, let's vote to have a better life in the future, not live in fear under that doesn't follow laws, only fear and retribution. That's not the American way of life, especially that now that we're going to have the birthday of the nation next year, 250 years. I mean, it's we have to change things and think. I mean, a lot. Inform yourself, think, and make the right decisions for the
Yeah.
best for you and for the community, because that's how we live. We live in a community and we have to support each other.
They say that 250 years is the shelf life of most empires. So I think this one is coming to a close. But Felipe, I really want to thank you though, because again, I know this isn't easy, right? Like you're an artist, right? You're doing work and you've been doing your work for a long time, and to be on the front lines, but to not to say you're not scared, but to still confront it head on. I have to thank you for that. You have to be commended for that, and also for Andrea, right? Like,
yes, thank you.
you guys have been this powerhouse couple, and you guys both mean a lot to Uptown, for the arts of town, and this community is always going to have your back, and thank you for putting up the good fight, right? Like we don't know where this is going to go, but you know that we love you guys and we support you.
Thank you very much. It's really, really nice to hear, and vice versa. We're here for the community as well.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
no, thank you so much,
thank
man,
you.
Felipe. Appreciate it, man. Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Okay.
Very nice to
Okay,
meet you,
so-
Octavio.
Nice to meet you too. Thanks for joining us in this episode of Uptown Voices, brought to you by 181 Cabrini, your neighborhood bistro just steps away from the North Walk of the George Washington Bridge. Use the code Uptown Voices Season 1 for your discount. And to stay up to date on the latest in Uptown, you can follow Uptown Collective on Instagram, Facebook, and X. If you're watching Uptown Voices on YouTube, don't forget to smash the subscribe button and to give us a like. And don't forget, we also need financial contributions from listeners like you to produce, improve, and expand our content. To contribute, please scan the QR code on the screen. Until next time, this has been Uptown Voices.